It's another Sunday evening, and what better way to end your weekend with none other but the Basketbros? I am your moderator, Denzel Snipes, and man, what a weekend for sports! XFL season's winding down. I got the chance to go and cover the Roughnecks Vegas Vipers game, which was a lot of fun. If y'all have me on social media, please feel free to go. I uploaded all the pictures and all the interviews that I did. It was a wonderful time. I got to watch the game from the press box. I met some pretty great personalities. I met the Rod Woodson, y'all. Still a great. So, and it's crazy. So, quick story before I bring everybody on. I was walking on the field, and off to my right, I see some people hollering. They had Steelers jerseys. I'm like, who are they yelling at? Then I looked to my left, and he just kind of startled me, like he was right there. I was like, oh shoot, hey, you know, and introduced myself. He shook my hand and everything. He went over there and signed autographs, signed jerseys, terrible towels and stuff. Really great guy, you know. But it was a great experience, you know, and I most definitely look forward to covering a ton of other events. Also, the NBA playoffs began, well, discounting the playing games, began last night. We'll do a quick recap on that. We've got a loaded show for you all, but let's get the guys in here. This man, he looking like he's coming from a job interview. He's kind of got the Clark Kent, Henry Cavill thing going on here. Yeah, Will Vogel knows I'm talking about him, so let's go ahead and bring him on.
What's up? No, I just showered. I just came back from a trip today. It was a good trip. Went to the RBC Heritage Golf Tournament. Went through, tournament started on Thursday. Went through today, and I got there on Monday with my dad. And the guy we follow, who we're friends with, his name is Troy Merritt. Small name on the PGA Tour. He teed off at 7 a.m. on Thursday, so we had to get up at 5:30 just to see him play.
But early riser, I like it.
Exactly, and it was fun. And then in 2 weeks, there's a golf tournament for the PGA Tour in Charlotte, so I'll be going to that as well.
Okay, awesome. So you got a busy time ahead of you, you know. But yeah, awesome. Always great that you can make it on, dude. You know, and the next guy coming in, he's the architect of the Pundit's Pundit. And he's the architect of Pundit Views, and he's going to have some pretty important faces on Pundit Views real soon. Let's come on in here, Jacob Christner.
What's going on?
Hey, how you doing, man?
Not bad. That's like one of the biggest things. One thing I'm noticing, Denzel, is the fact that you're starting to get some more fans. I'm noticing that part. Maybe it's the wrestling. Maybe it's the wrestling talk. Who knows?
Maybe. Who knows? Indeed, you know.
But real quickly, one thing I can tell. I've been looking through some of the things. There's no question now. WrestleMania just ended. There's no question in my mind from here anymore. WrestleMania 11 is the worst WrestleMania I've ever seen in my dang life. Even if it was Lawrence Taylor, absolute worst piece of crap I've ever seen in my life.
Well, one could argue that it was the worst WrestleMania ever because the main event was Lawrence Taylor versus Bam Bam Bigelow.
Well, here's the thing. It looked like, for one thing, production was terrible. Then it looked like it was inside of a really big storage unit that they decided, nah, we're just going to have it all in here.
Yeah, and the crazy part is because at the time period, they were, you know, WWE is really great about like the whole crossover effect, right? Obviously, it worked with UFC because, you know, from back then to what happened just now, right? Obviously, you know, at the time period, they were trying to cross over with NFL. And they really dropped the ball on this one. Like, I get it. If you wanted Bam Bam versus Lawrence Taylor, fine. But that should have been a lower card match, not the main event. Yeah. They obviously were trying to appeal to the NFL by doing that. And in my opinion, it was a mistake. I mean, like, you know, don't get me wrong. Like, for being trained by Kevin Nash, Lawrence Taylor did okay in the ring. He did all right, you know. But, dude, that's a lower card match. Or like a special like Monday Night Raw, right? They really dropped the ball on not having rivals, Shawn Michaels and Kevin Nash, for the world title as the main event. They really dropped the ball.
And even worse, when the stupid camera people were around the ring, everybody kept trying to avoid them. The referee gets hurt trying to avoid them. Shawn Michaels tries to drag him out of the way. I mean, it was just. Vince has had some stupid ideas over the years.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
I actually sent Denzel a meme with Vince with the
mustache. Yeah, I saw it. He's definitely getting gone for the mustache. But you know what? I actually wanted to start this off with a quick NBA playoff round 1 Saturday recap. So just some quick scores and stats from last night. The 76ers beat the Brooklyn Nets 121-101. Embiid had 26, Maxey had 13, Harden had 23, and Harris had 21. So definitely a great showing by the 76ers, who are favored to beat the Nets. Also, the Celtics beat the Hawks 112-99. Let's see here. Trae Young ended with just 16. Tatum had 25. Brown led all scorers with 29. White had 24. Also, let's see, Knicks Cavs. The Knicks, they blew a lead late, but then they got it back, but they won 101-97. That's a series that I have 7 games personally. Let's see, Randall had 19. Brunson had 27, who's looking more and more like their best pickup in the last year or two. Let's see, on the Cleveland side, Spider went off for 38. Garland had 17. So not a bad outing by them, but they came up short. And then last night's obvious game of the night. If you ever watched it, the Kings got their first playoff win in 17 years, which we're actually going to cover a little bit more later. Mr. Jacob Christner will do so. But they won game 1, 126-123. Quick stats here. Curry had 30, Thompson had 21, DiVincenzo had 10, Wiggins had 17 off the bench. On the Kings side, De'Aaron Fox went off for 38, Barnes had 13, Lyles had 16 off the bench. They they had home field advantage in the first place, but I mean, what a way to start the series. I still have Golden State winning that series, but definitely a feel-good story for Sacktown. So just around the horn, Will, your thoughts on yesterday's games?
Before that, real quick, I'll have some comments on the Kings thing too that Jacob brought up as our last topic, or whenever we do it. Honestly, I think the Sixers Nets series will actually go 4 games. I think the Sixers are just too tough. Like, Dinwiddie's a good player, and you got some decent other players on the Nets, but the Sixers are so good. You got Maxey and Embiid. You got Harris, you got Harden. And then for the Celtics Hawks, I think the Celtics it's going to be a 4-1 series. I think the Celtics are way too tough. For the Kings Warriors, man, that was a huge win for Sacktown. I saw videos of fans outside after the arena. Like, it looked like you could barely breathe. It was like so compressed. But I still have the Warriors winning in that series. But I actually have Sacramento winning 2 games, so I have the Warriors winning 4-2 in that series. But overall, you got to feel happy for the Kings. They haven't been to the playoffs in 17 years. Like, that is way too long.
Right, absolutely. And I want to swing it over to Jacob. Man, it's like in the NFL, Florida sent all 3 teams to the playoffs. In the NBA, California sent all 4 of their teams to the playoffs, Yeah. But just wanted to get your quick thoughts about yesterday's games.
Well, here's the thing. I know what I say with Philly. They're not going to win it all. But here's the thing. If you're going to say that the Nets would have a chance against them, it's like Jerry Lawler trying to say every good guy during the 90s was a horrible and every bad guy was good. It's the exact same thing. I mean, there's no chance. I mean, of course, I think Philly can win in 5. The Nets can take 1 at home or whatever. But, the Philly's way too tough for a team like the Nets. I like Jacques Vaughn. But here's the thing. How long does he have? Because, truthfully, you've got you've got yourself somebody. He replaced Steve Nash. How long does he have either? And you got to remember, Steve Nash is probably going to get more of a chance. He'll only have more of a chance than Jacques Vaughn will. So the biggest thing is, I say that in 5. It was Boston and Atlanta. Like I said, Atlanta is not going to be any better without McMillan. They've got a nice coach. Quinn Snyder's a nice coach. But he's not. McMillan is the one kind of mind that can get him to that as far as they could go get him against against the elite.
Right.
You have that, and they don't have him. And I don't consider Quinn Snyder elite. So those are the situations we have. So I can see Boston sweeping that one. And I can see him sweeping that one. As far as Knicks and Cavaliers, a 7. That's going to be fun.
Oh, wait. I forgot that one. I actually have that one 7. Sorry to interrupt. I got that
Knicks
one
and Cavaliers going to go 7. That's going to be fun.
I think it's universal that's going to go 7.
That
may be the only series out of round 1 in general, East or West, that goes 7 games.
Yeah. And, I could see Memphis and the Lakers.
Yeah. Yeah.
I can see because the Lakers. Here's the thing, but here's what's funny though. This is the thing with the Lakers. Austin Reeves is trying to steal the LeBron and the other stars' thunder. Which he scored 9 points in a row and 14 in the fourth to take that game. Mm-hmm. It's like Austin Reeves is trying his hardest to steal their thunder.
And not to mention with today's ball game, they had 4 players go 20 plus points. They were the first Laker quadruplet to go 20 plus points apiece in a playoff game since Kareem, Jabbar, Worthy, and Scott.
Kareem, Magic, Worthy, and you said Kareem, Jabbar.
My bad. I'm sorry. Yeah, Kareem, Magic, Scott, and Worthy. Yeah.
Worthy. Yeah. But yeah, it's like. Well, I remember a couple of different times when the Celtics. The Celtics would have 4, sometimes 5, even if it was the regular season or not. Those were the times they talked about it. Those were the days when the ball was spread around.
Yeah,
it's like those are the days when they spread around. The reason it's so big now is because everybody shoots threes and they kind of just dribble it up the court and they jack it up.
I got Grizzlies winning in 6 in that series.
Oh, okay, that's cool. It's like the biggest thing though is they dribble up the court. Maybe one guy touches and shoots up a 3. And it's like people, unless they watch YouTube, did not understand the amount of spread in the offense, be able to get everybody around. So there's more options than 20 points, multiple 20-point games.
So, Jacob, real quick, what do you think about the Warriors-Kings series? How many games?
6. I can see the Warriors still taking it, but I'm happy for them. We'll talk about this later, but I'm very happy for the Kings right now.
Yeah, we'll save it for the final segment. I actually have Jacob lead off on that one. In fact, you might just get a solo screen on that one, and I'll explain later. But
and I've got like one little tad bit about those Kings, but I'll let Jacob lead it, and then.
Yeah, of course. But we'll move on to our next topic, and that is our Basketbros Legend, and that is Len Bias. The late Len Bias, born on 18 November 1963. He died on June 19th of 1986. He was the 2nd overall pick in the 1986 NBA draft. Let's see here. He was 6'8", 210. Let's see. He played at Maryland from 82 to 86. At Maryland, he was a consensus first-team All-American, consensus second-team All-American, first team in 86, second team in 85, 2-time ACC Player of the Year, 2-time first-team All-ACC, ACC Athlete of the Year, 1984 ACC Tournament Most Valuable Player. He's in the College Basketball Hall of Fame. He was inducted in 2021. Those of y'all who know the story, he went to a party to celebrate him being drafted, and he actually ended up ingesting cocaine. He died from cardiac arrhythmia later on in the night. But one thing about Len Bias is, and we talk about the Sean Taylors and the Reggie Lewises of the world, and one of the biggest what-ifs in sports history is Len Bias. Not to mention that this man would have came in and gotten the chance to play with Larry Bird, and they won the NBA championship. He's drafted in '86. They won in '87, correct? Or was it Lakers?
Nope, that was the Lakers.
That was Lakers. Okay,
they went to the final though.
But they went to the finals, yes. But I mean, it absolutely was, a huge chance that he would have, ended his career with a ring or several. Talk about an immense talent. Maryland has probably never seen a player since him. It's just crazy how you think about it, and it's like, man, you don't want to use the term wasted talent, because that's kind of reserved for this guy was a natural coming out, and then he messed with criminals, and now he's in prison. You know what I mean? I'll just leave it as is. He's one of the biggest what ifs in sports. But I'll swing it over to Will. And Will, if you want to give us your thoughts on the man that was Len Bias.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy because he was pound for pound. Him against Jordan, those Maryland UNC games were tough. He literally took Michael Jordan to his limits. One of maybe 3 or 4 guys. Maybe the others would be. We know Drazen Petrovic because Jordan is quoted in saying like Drazen is one of the greatest players who pushed me to my limit. Bird, Magic could be the other 2. But you look at him, and I always think maybe he gets one MVP. It would be tough because you have Bird on your team when he's on those teams, and then you have Magic and you also have Jordan. So probably it's really tough for him to win an MVP on that team. But it makes me also think if he stuck around maybe for 10 plus years. I saw actually, you know what was funny? I looked him up and I knew about him before. Some guy did a simulation of like how long he would last. I think the simulation had him having a 15-year NBA career.
Nice.
Which is crazy because I couldn't agree more. And I think if him, a healthy Bird, a healthy McHale, a healthy Parrish, a healthy Walton, and then you have Ainge, man, I think those teams could have rivaled with the 90s Bulls for sure for titles and would have fought with Jordan, Pippen, Rodman, Kerr, and those others. And also, it makes you think that also that he probably would have won Rookie of the Year and he could have been a multiple time All-Star. Maybe, like I said, one MVP, but it's really hard with the other guys I mentioned at the time. But here his numbers from Maryland and how much they improved. Freshman year, 7.1 points per game, 4.2 rebounds per game. Sophomore year, 5.3 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game. Junior year, 18.9 points per game, 6.8 rebounds. Senior year, 23.2 points per game, 7.0 rebounds per game. It only get better and better and better.
Better and better and better. And he averaged 23 a senior year? Jesus Christ.
Yeah. Went from 7 to 23. Yeah, insane. This guy, like we said, is probably the biggest what if. Because this guy would have for sure pushed MJ and those Bulls teams. Who knows how many titles MJ and those Bulls teams would have had? Maybe 1, maybe 2 only. So this guy could have been so much in the NBA. For sure. If he played, I think he would have been immediately a Hall of Famer. And he would be on these anniversary teams for sure.
Yeah, I mean, and you got to think, he comes in '86. He immediately forms a 2-man punch at the 4 with Kevin McHale, which is the potential to be a top 10 2-man punch in the league. Then you figure in the later years, after Parrish is gone, Bird's gone, McHale's gone, DJ's gone, like all these dudes that like made the Celtics, right? And now it's Len Bias's team. It would have been his team in like year 5, year 6 or something. You know what I mean? But I want to swing it over to Jacob. He's the resident Celtics fan. Before I let you go, they had an investigation at the University of Maryland, and it was a lot of red tape, a lot of covering up going on. Athletic director Dick Dole resigned on 7 October 1986.
I'd resign for that name. I'd resign for having that name. Yeah.
Right. Driesel followed suit on October 29th after 17 years as a head coach. Grand jury presided over the Bias case, issued a final report on February 26th of 87, criticizing the University of Maryland's athletic department, admissions office, and the campus police. They were told after his death, apparently the coach had told some players to go and remove all drugs from his room and such. And so it was just bad all the way around. But I want to swing it over to you, Jacob. But your overall commentary on Len Bias, the player he was, what he would have meant, and even on the investigation afterwards.
That was ridiculous. And the biggest thing is, from what I hear, he'd never used it before. He just was.
Yeah, he was a first-time user.
First-time user. And it's like, everybody, just because it was the 80s, people thought he was just snorting up and he got caught too much one night. No, it was his one and only time. No, here's the thing. In 85, 86, the Celtics were so dominant, it was absurd. They would have destroyed the Lakers if it was the Lakers in the finals. The ball movement was ridiculous. It was everything. 86, 87, so many injuries. Through the playoffs, Kevin McHale broke his foot, bad knee and ankle for Danny Ainge. DJ had an issue. He had his quad was injured. Then they have ankle problems for Parrish. There's absolutely no Walton. His foot's gone. He couldn't get anything like that. And Bird, he had to literally drag everything. All of those teams, they had to drag that thing to the Game 7 twice and win it. Yeah. He had to do that. Here's the thing. Imagine if Reggie Lewis came in the same year. Imagine how much you could rest Kevin McHale, Kevin McHale, Danny Ainge, and DJ with those two around. Right. You got to remember they played in college different kind of positions and they could move the ball by themselves. So you could move them anywhere. So you have that whatsoever. So this would have given Bird, and you could even replace Bird and give him a rest. This would have helped those injury problems. I mean, Bird dragged that team to 2 Game 7 wins.
Yeah,
and one 3-pointer away from third one against the Lakers. And a 3-pointer away from that. And it was like he dragged that, so that gives you his greatness. But they were just beaten up, destroyed. It was literally like Rocky Balboa with that, and he had to do that. Just imagine if you play Reggie Lewis more. Imagine if you get Len Bias off the bench because you got all those injuries. That's number one thing. You have a chance against the Lakers. You probably go 7. Second big thing, going into the 90s, realize this. The Bulls will be the Bulls. They'll get theirs. They were still awesome. But the Knicks don't. The Knicks don't. That's another thing. That those Knicks teams could not beat a Celtics team with Reggie Lewis and Len Bias mixing it around with all those players. The Knicks don't make it in those 90s games. That's another one. Here's another thing I'm going to say that from right there. Then here's another thing. There's no Rick Pitino. Because there's no Rick Pitino because Chris Ford wouldn't have been fired and then they wouldn't have gotten all that. Chris Ford would have gone in Chris Ford would have come in because Bird made those calls between Rodgers and then getting Chris Ford. He made those calls of who was the coach. But once that was gone, Chris Ford would have had lots of wins. There's no Rick Pitino. He probably stays till 2000 or something like that and goes all the way through till they rebuild. So there's going to be playoffs every year. There's no Pitino to ruin the team. So mind you, but see at the same time, leading to all that, there was a big 3 in the 2000s. Okay, that probably doesn't happen because they're good. They're good for those 16 years. So that probably doesn't happen. There's a big clash of something overall because see the Celtics weren't good for 16 seasons. That was the big point of it. That was why you had the big 3. If you have a good team for 16 seasons, there's no reason for it. So there'd been a big clash of a lot of things that would have happened if you have Len Bias playing, if you have Reggie Lewis playing, and they stay healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. It changes a lot of dynamics, you know what I mean? Especially with the 90s because, instead of Rockets Knicks, you get Rockets Celtics. Yeah. Which would have been the 3rd time they would have met in the finals, you know? Now, how they would have fared against Orlando in the East is unknown because
that's a good question because
that was a strong order. Remember, going into the 95 finals, people had Orlando like dominating us like 4-1 or like, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But then here's the thing, though. It's like that means Boston would have definitely had to go into the free agency market and go get those people to be able to catch up to a team like Orlando, who was beast. Orlando was beast, and it's like I didn't have Orlando winning 4-1. Hell no. It's like Houston was just a beast. They were just tough.
Yeah. Yeah, at the end of the day, it was that and experience. But I mean, Houston was on such a run on the way to the finals that people just kind of overlooked that. Now, Orlando was coming out of the tough East, sure, but people were looking at it as well. Jordan came back, they knocked him out. You know what I mean? And mind you, in those same playoffs, this is Jordan's first playoffs back. He was averaging 32 a game in the playoffs. He was averaging 32 a game. So anybody out there saying, "Oh, Jordan wasn't really back," okay, 32 points a game, that's not chopped liver.
No, but what they mean by that, I can see what they would say. They'd be saying it even more if there was an internet back then. But no, you can see where they would say it. He got picked by Nick Anderson. He got picked by Nick Anderson, and then you didn't do that to Michael Jordan unless it was his first couple of years. He had such great ball handling skills, so that's where they were saying that. Number two, a lot of you had your 55 and you had a few others, but he was jacking the ball up like Kobe at the time until he got back, and then he got trusted his team. He was jacking the ball up and then missing a lot of shots, at least in that year.
Well, yeah, that is true, but averaging 32.5 points per game, that means a lot of his shots were falling.
He's just the greatest of all time. That's not what I meant by there were a lot of them were falling. Mm-hmm. But I mean, greatest of all time, that's going to happen. But my thing about that was just the fact that he was jacking them all up a lot, and it was basically him. And they had to, and you got to remember, they had to come in through the next year and learn truly learn with that team. You got to remember, this wasn't with B.J. Armstrong. It wasn't with Cartwright anymore. Brand spanking new team, move it around. Building around that team and learn how to trust each other. Yeah,
absolutely. And it for sure would have been quite the matchup with Len Bias and Jordan and how they would have matched. I mean,
6'6" and 6'8". That would have been interesting because remember, Len Bias had those spider arms.
He did.
So that would have been interesting on defense.
Yes. I mean, like, imagine Bias meeting Jordan at the rim.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At that time period.
And Len Bias probably would have been an air Len himself in his own way because he could jump too.
Oh, yeah, he could leap out the gym. I think it would have been back and forth, though. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, Bias would have done because, the man's gone or whatever. No. I mean, there would have been sometimes Len would have got Jordan. There would have been sometimes Jordan would have got Len. It just is what it is,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. But it's just, I mean, you got to realize even Scalabrine, there's the highlights of Scalabrine shoot over LeBron. You get your moments.
Right, absolutely. So, want to move on to our next topic, and Jacob, I'm waiting to hear from you on this one. So, it's our first Basketbros moment in time, November 1984, the Dr. J-Larry Bird Brawl. Real quick. So, let's see. In the game, it was an early game. Boston was 4-0, Philly was 5-0. But Bird had actually went off for 42 points in 30 minutes. Dr. J had been held to 6 points.
42-6. 42-6. 42-6.
And the offensive foul was called on Bird. I watched the clip. We went back and rewatched the clip. They ran on the court. They locked arms. They go down, and then all of a sudden they start brawling. They started brawling like off camera. They actually had to switch the camera over and see them going at it, but it was crazy. They both got fined $7,500, which at the time were the second highest fines for players' conduct in NBA history. Wow. And then the Celtics won the game 130-119.
Now it's one of LeBron's wallets.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, and then now one of Lil Wayne's belts. But yeah, the Celtics won 130-19. Want to swing it over to Will. Man, you got two of the greats fist fighting, dude. What's going on?
Man, some of these players, some of the best of all time love to throw some haymakers and talk that smack. Yeah, when I saw that, I'm like, wait, am I reading this right? Oh, wait, yes, I am. My glasses don't deceive me. But yeah, you're talking about two of the all best, a rivalry between two teams that the only rivalry that would hate each other more was the Celtics and the Lakers, or the Celtics and the Pistons, but also the Celtics and the Sixers hated each other.
They did.
I think Celtics were a little upset because guess who won the championship the year before? The Sixers. So they were kind of salty, I think. But yeah, crazy coincidence between two of the best players of all time. crazy. Bird got 4. Like, am I surprised Bird got 30 points at 40 or 30, 42 points at 30
in 30 minutes.
Heck
42
no.
points in 30 minutes.
Heck no, I'm not surprised. It's
He
Larry
torched
Bird.
him.
Larry Legend. Guy was shooting 3 after 3. Yeah, crazy. That's all I have to say. I can't wait to hear what Jacob says also.
Yeah, there's an iconic photo of man, if I would have known better, I would have uploaded it. But of Bird having Dr. J in like this chokehold, man. Like, it's actually funny now. But I want to swing it over to Jacob. I don't know if you witnessed it live or anything like that, but again, you're the resident Celtics fan. Your thoughts on this epic moment between two greats?
I would have had to, because November '84, I've been watching it, no question. That goes into '85. It means I was watching it by July, so yes. But you just have to remember. But here's the thing: to this day, Bird or Jay will not sign that picture. Neither of them will. They will not sign those. They will not autograph that picture. They can't stand it. It's like Philly and Boston was just tough basketball. They were 24-22 Celtics in the night. Let's see, trying to think something along the lines of the 9. Let's see, I'm trying to think here. Something like 54-52 Celtics in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
Something absurd. It was 22-22 and 2-2 in the playoffs, in playoff series. Mm-hmm. That's how close these teams were. And then Bird and Jay fighting is like LeBron and KD fighting now, which would never happen.
True.
People don't realize the star power of that fighting. They would not fight like that anymore. It's like you saw Bird and Magic in a highlight in '82 getting in each other's face. That's like, again, LeBron and KD. It's like they would not. See, the whole thing was Bird puts him in a chokehold. He gets his arm slapped away. Here comes Moses and Charles Barkley holding him back. Holding him by both arms while he gets punched once, right? But then he escaped. He tried going after him, and he got held back. So that was the fight. But I'm like, how tough is a guy when you need 2 other guys holding him while you're hitting him? You know, and then he didn't even go down the boot. You know, it's like he didn't even get bruised up the boot. So it's like, see, that's what I keep saying to everybody in the world. Jay's not a fighter. Jay was the cool guy.
Right.
Jay wasn't a fighter. If you're not a fighter, quit pretending you're tough.
True.
Yeah, quit pretending you're tough. And it's like Bird fought in bar fights.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like he fought in bar fights. It's like he was every bit of that poor boy, the redneck. That he had a couple of Millers and just went off.
He's country strong.
Yeah. He doesn't like he strikes me as the type, like, he wouldn't, like, okay, you know how, like, you know, you got some people out there, they get famous, they go and buy like a Rolls Royce, they go and buy like a Porsche or something like that, you know, and then you got, like, let's say that's some country singer that makes it famous. All he'll do is go and buy like an expensive GMC or something like that. Like, Bird strikes me as the type to, like, go and buy like a really nice pickup truck.
Yeah, Bird bought it. Would probably buy a better.
Yeah, that, like, we could afford. You know what I mean? Yeah, but he's like,
he'd probably buy a better fishing boat. No, you see these. That's the difference with this. It's like the Bird that we know now. Bird belonged in the '80s. He belonged in the time that he did. So did Magic, because you couldn't put a Bird as of now. You couldn't do it because you know who that is now is Austin Reeves. It's like it's Austin Reeves, and it's like people are going to compare. They're not the same guy, but you're not going to see Austin Reeves fighting.
Now, hold on. Now, before you continue, what are your quick thoughts about the comparison of Luka Doncic to Larry Bird?
No way. Luka's better one-on-one, but Bird played opportunistic defense. He waited. He wasn't a one-on-one defender. Mm-hmm. He wasn't a one-on-one defender, but he broke up probably more fast breaks going back and busted up and stole the ball. He waited. It's like remember that weak side steal by Jordan to Karl Malone? Yeah. That was Bird's steal 3 times a game sometimes. Yeah. Just come right in behind. That was Bird's play. But no. It's like I said, we couldn't have I think about this more, I think, and do it now. You don't wish for a Larry Bird to come back in this era or to do that. You don't. It's not the same. It's Austin Reeves. Austin Reeves isn't going to be able to fight. There's too many political aspects to it now. Too many political aspects to an Austin Reeves doing that, everything like this. There's already people that want him to be the star to begin with. There's getting to that thing. There's too many fines. I mean, you talk about 7,500, that'd be nothing now. There'd be too many fines. There's too many lawsuits. Cops get involved. It's like you wouldn't be able to have that anymore. You couldn't have that rivalry the way it was anymore because you couldn't have the same intensity. There isn't the same intensity now. They get broken up too quickly. It's like you get the cops involved and someone goes to the locker room. That used to happen 30 times a year. They used to happen 30 times a year. Go ahead.
Now, for context, this was 1984. So $7,500 then is actually $21,787 now.
Yeah, and it'd be
it's equivalent to about a $20,000.
It'd be $150,000 now. By the way,
now,
it'd be $150,000 now. Adam Silver is such a wimp when it comes to anything intense. He really is. But that's the thing. People would wish you look at it on YouTube, not YouTube, but you look at it on any kind of comments. They wish they could see Bird and Magic one more time in this era. No, don't put that on them, because don't put that on them. Like I said, there's too many threats of lawsuit. There's too many threats of fines. You got to do everything, and plus the fact that it wouldn't be the same Bird because Bird didn't spend money. He hated spending that $7,500 and getting that fine. That's why he stopped fighting after about 88.
Yeah,
that's why he hated spending money. Don't ask him to take $150,000 out of his own bank for that. He would have just stopped altogether. We wouldn't have had the same guy.
Right.
That's the big thing people don't understand is it is the same as trying to put even Tim Tebow now. I'm just saying of now, yes, it's the same type of plays that you get right now, but this era doesn't want the tough guy anymore. They won't. The minute you limp off the field, you're gone for the game. The minute you have the thing, I mean, those are the times where you could just like get onto the field and get a big standing ovation. It's the same boat. Don't ask for the guys back in the day to come back. You don't want that on them. That's not fair to them.
That's true.
Enjoy the day. Enjoy the memories. Because those are the days where you could do it.
Yeah, exactly. But now's a good time to swing over to our second Basketbros moment, and I actually can't wait.
We're gonna go to Will first on that one.
From Will, yeah, I've been waiting to hear from Will on this one. Second Basketbros moment in time: 2010 NBA Finals Game 7. Metta World Peace's 3-pointer in the final minute closes out Celtics. Man, you talk about the shot of his life. Some quick context here. Kobe actually had a horrible night. He was only 6 of 24 shooting. But Artest essentially bailed him out by sinking a 3-pointer over Paul Pierce with a minute left to play. It sent it to a 79-73 with a minute to go. And then it wasn't just, let's see, the significance of it is, it was one of the championships that Kobe had to win, like without Shaq, to prove that he could do it without Shaq and whatnot. Ron Artest, and it actually was said that he never changed clothes. He was in like full uniform, like going to the bar to celebrate. Like he never showered or nothing. He never changed out. He was in the bar, like you know what I mean? And like, yeah, it was. And a lot of people was like, that was Artest's moment. It was well deserved. But I do want to, swing it over to Will. Now, before that moment, he was known for the malice at the palace. Do you feel like this moment was his redemption?
Honestly, no.
Okay.
I don't think so. As great of a finals moment this was, these are like, it's a feel-good story, yes. But probably a week later, something else happens in the NFL, NFL, MLB, that said, oh, slide over, Ron, Metta World Peace. We got another big story to do. So I'm sorry, Metta World Peace, Ron Artest, Panda Friend, whatever your name is now. I remember when he went by Panda Friend. The Mouse in the Palace will always be remembered by Pistons fans and Pacers fans. This is just I know it's might sound corny, and we just had March Madness, but this was your one shining moment. And guess what? You know what happens to one shining moment? Sometimes, if you have a bad reputation before or after, it gets loomed over by the shadow of darkness, which is the malice at the palace. Anyway, Ron Artest before this was known as a defender and a trash talker, and he got ejected and stuff. He played for the Rockets, the Kings, a bunch of teams. And the fun thing about the crazy thing was I was a diehard, as much as I hate to say this name, Bobcats / Hornets fan at that point. My 8th grade math teacher was a Celtics fan, and he got me into the Celtics, so I was going for the Celtics heavily. And the Celtics and the Lakers were previously played 2 years before in the NBA Finals, and the Celtics won that, I think, in Game 6 or Game 7. Mm-hmm. And the Lakers were the defending champs, and they would go back-to-back. They won against the Magic, and then they won against the Celtics in this series. So I did some research, and it's the best rivalry probably in NBA history. Metta World Peace for 3. Game 1, he went 3 for 5 from 3, 15 points. Game 2, 1 for 6 from 3, 6 points. Game 3, 0 for 2 from 3, 2 points. Game 4, 0 for 1 from 3, 9 points. Game 5, 2 for 5 from 3, 7 points. Game 6, 3 for 6 from 3, 15 points. Game 7, 2 for 7 from 3, 20 points. So you're talking about a very, very streaky shooter who was lucky to have that shot off, because we all know how clutch Kobe was, and I guess he fed the hot hand. But you know what? Honestly, I was sad that the Celtics lost, but I was happy for Kobe and especially Pau Gasol to get another ring, because I think Pau, and we've talked about him on the show, I think Pau is one of the most underrated big men of all time.
You're right, absolutely. You talk about it, the shot at the time, the literal definition of it, and you're right. I mean, he had struggled to go from deep throughout the series. I want to hear
what Jacob thinks if it redeemed him, but go ahead.
Yeah, I don't know. I got it, man. It's just it's just crazy that like that was the time period, and not very many people think that he would even take that shot. But want to swing it over to Jacob, and same question, because before that moment he had been remembered for malice at the palace. Do you feel like, seeing as this shot led to them winning the championship like literally a minute later, do you feel like this was his redemption?
No, because we still see the mouse in the palace all the dang time. We see documentaries on it. We see all this. It's just a nice part of his career. But here's we wouldn't be seeing this anymore if it was his redemption. But here's the issue, though. The people do not realize just how big of a weight off the back in life. This is just the history that beating the Celtics is. Jerry West went 0 for 8 before he got 2 rings against, you know what I'm saying, before he got his 2 rings when they were retired, when Bill Russell retires. He went 0 for 8. So you get to this. They goes 0 for 8. Then they get to the 80s, and Bird wins, and Bird takes another one in Game 7. Another Game 7. They lost 6 Game 7s. Realize that. They lost 6 Game 7s, and Bird takes another one. Then they get 2 games. Then they get 2 in a row. They finally break it in 85 because of Kareem. And then 87, that whole deal. So then that era ends. So then you get onto the thing, and then the Celtics win again. Celtics win. So Celtics win again on that type of thing. That's win number 10. Mm-hmm. So then guess what? With that right then and there, with them winning in Game 7, you know what the finals record is right now at this point in time? It's 10-3 Celtics against the Lakers. But that is such a That is such a, I mean, the weight off your back, though. You know what it's kind of like? It's kind of like Nick Foles, even though Nick Foles was just a backup. It's kind of like no matter what you get, you're going to be remembered. You've got your Super Bowl and an MVP, even though if you do nothing else the rest of your life. And the thing is, it's not a redemption for the fight, but he can have that in his own head that he got this.
Mm-hmm.
And
that is true.
And I'll say this real quickly. Truthfully, though, it's like as far as the Lakers go, I would think the Lakers would want the Celtics again because there's a whole new fan base that would want this one more time because that's all we see on a YouTube, on documentaries, on the 30 for 30, on everything. Celtics, Lakers, Celtics, Lakers, Celtics, Lakers. It is a big thing. This would be, you got to remember, the 60s, they got to the 60s, nothing with the 70s, but then the 60s, 80s, let's see, you got to this thing, you got the 2000s, it would be the fourth decade. Fifth decade. It'd be the fifth decade these two teams played each other in the final.
That would be
60s, 80s.
I would have to say real quick, that would be a fun one. Jason Tatum against LeBron would be a fun
60s,
duel.
80s, 2000s, 2010s, 2020s. That would be the fifth decade that they faced each other. No other rivalry goes there.
That's best rivalry in NBA history by far.
Yep, and then a lot of people have it best rivalry in sports. Well,
it is. It sure is. It sure is. The Bears and Packers.
Yeah, Jay, real quick, do you think it redeems him?
Honestly, I'm going to say yes, it does. Reason being is because, like, okay, when the Malice at the Palace happened, right? He was well known for that, and so you would think the general person would say, "Man, the thing to come back from this is the winner championship," which is like pretty damn hard to do, right? So then he goes out there and does it, and he hit the shot to close the casket on the Celtics. You know what I mean? So no, I can definitely see both sides because y'all are correct. They do show Malice at the Palace more than they show his 3-pointer, but. You know, if you are going to tell a man there's no coming back from Malice at the Palace, well, then that's it. But if you're going to tell him there is coming back from this, but to come back from this, you got to win a championship. And you got to have a moment, or you got to be like the MVP or something. He had his moment. He won a championship. You know?
Was he?
Go ahead.
Was he on that team that beat the Magic the year before? I forget.
No. This was his one and only title.
The biggest thing, but it's like the biggest thing. The only reason I said it by itself is the fact that if it was redemption, we wouldn't hear it anymore afterwards. I don't think there's a redemption. I think it's something that can be put in his memory to avoid it, to avoid talking about the malice. It's something for him to get that thing, and I'm glad for him on it. He can forget it, but it's not a redemption thing in the fact that it's still around. People still want to talk about this all the time, but. Good for him because he's got something else to talk about.
He does. And so now we're going to go on to our last topic. We got about 10 minutes left. And that is the Sacramento Kings surprising 2023 run. Now, actually, I'm going to turn this over to Jacob. I'm going to solo screen it here for about 5 minutes and let you give his commentary on it. Jacob actually covered the Sacramento Kings for 2 seasons of the NBA Carousel. That is on our YouTube page as well, and Facebook and Twitter. You'd have to kind of dig through the archives to find it, but it's there, you know. But I'm going to turn this over to Jacob and let him talk about the Sacramento Kings and their run to the postseason. Go ahead.
I covered this on the NBA Carousel. I covered the Kings. I did it because nobody else wanted to, and they were really, really bad. And then you're starting to, and then you just see, I always watched in a different way. I watched it different because they're a bad team. But you have a coach that basically basically an old coach that has to teach these kids. It's basically at this point in time right now, it's exactly what Popovich has to do in San Antonio. But Popovich has a much better legacy in the first place than Gentry. Now, everybody heard me. I'm not wrong too often, but when I'm wrong, I admit it. Everybody knows it. The biggest thing I was saying was Sacramento's next move is going to Las Vegas. The kind of management style that they have was saying it. It looked like it. Shaquille O'Neal sold off his 4%. It just looked like they were playing out their string. And they were going to get there. They were going to leave. They just, because they have, most of their ownership is basically a consortium. So they get a bunch of different people. And you would just think that they would want that. And then they would get their investment going to Las Vegas. Didn't happen. And not only that, they make a really, really good trade with Indiana. They also get some draft. They also, and they also get themselves a coach. And you want to know what starts to happen? They win. And then I have the nice old friend named, I wish he would be able to see. I'm guessing he's going to be with his grandson right now, Chris Dewar in Quincy, Illinois, who has been a fan of the Kings since 1985. He has seen some garbage over the years. I think he is from Sacramento, too. I'm very happy for him, hugely happy for him, because he gets to be able to watch a team have themselves a chance to be able to be excited, especially last night's win. And, yeah, I still believe the Warriors win in 6, but I could also be proven wrong. Sacramento's, hey, they have nothing to lose. Who knows? Just let them have some fun with this. And now there are things to be wrong about. That's a good thing to be wrong about, is that they get to stay in Sacramento for a fan base that is very hyped for them right now. This means they can go get some actual free agents, which means they can get the best draft picks even more now. They can make deals now. See, you didn't see this in Sacramento for all these times. When you had those years in 2000s, you had a couple of different times. But other than that, no. Now, this could literally give, in this era, the way that the free agency works and everybody builds their teams, you never know. You could get the biggest players to go build their team, go into Sacramento. You don't know. And that's a far cry from where they were even last year.
Well done, man. That was awesome.
Thank you. Absolutely excellent commentary there by Jacob Christner, who covered the Kings once again on the NBA Carousel. And you see, it was a totally different story when he was covering it, because the Kings were like this bottom team. But now they're in as a 3 seed. It's not like they had to go through a play-in to do it. They weren't even in the play-ins like the previous years, and then all of a sudden, just boom, they just take off. But I want to swing it over to Will and your thoughts about their run to the postseason.
Man, it's been way too long since the Vlade Divacs, the Mike Bibbies, the Doug Christie, the Chris Webbers. I bet those guys are ecstatic. Jason Williams. Fun fact, I saw a video from Instagram the other day from this YouTuber I watch. I collect sports cards. He does too. And he's diehard Kings fan from Sacramento. Before the game, I'm like, I wonder what is he filming on the court? Jason Williams, White Chocolate, was on the court, rallying up the crowd, pumping them up, lighting that beam. So it's good to see Sacramento have this NBA type of run. It's like the March Madness story of FAU this year. Like, they come out of nowhere and they're just like, boom, we're here to stay. But yes, I went through the numbers, and last year for the Kings, they had 31 different starting lineups. 31, which is insane. And there's an 82-game season. They also improved by 18 wins, and they went from the 12th seed to the 3 seed. They hadn't been in the playoffs in 2005 and 2006. Their guys have been killing it. I mean, their regular starting lineup. I think I went by their starting lineup of last night. I think it is their starting lineup throughout the year. Fox averages 25 points per game, 6.1 assists. Huerter, 15.2 points per game, 2.9 assists. Their rookie, Keegan Murray, a stud from Iowa, 12.2 points per game, 4.6 rebounds per game. Barnes, 15.0 points per game, 4.5 rebounds per game. Talk about a guy who went from the Warriors to a Kings team who was like, oh, I got traded. Okay, I'm not going to do much because this is a rebuilding team. Then they trade for Domantas Sabonis, who went from OKC to Indiana to the Kings for Halliburton, which Do the Kings regret moving Halliburton? Probably not, because they already have Fox and Herder, who's a pretty good backcourt. And Sabonis averages 19.1 points per game, 12.3 rebounds per game. And I met De'Aaron Fox a few years ago at a Hornets game. I'm a huge Fox fan. I love Barnes because he's a UNC guy. And I've always liked Sabonis ever since he got drafted. So to have this Kings team be a 3 seed, best seed in the NBA playoffs for a California team. If you would have told me this team this year, even though Fox is an all-star caliber player and Sabonis is too, if they said, "Oh, would you think the Kings were a 3 seed?" I would have been looking at you like you were crazy. I would have been like, at best, they would be a playing team. But guess what? They shocked the world, and you know what? Even if they lose this series about Golden State Warriors, I think this Kings team, if they can get more draft picks, get better players for the bench, eventually have to replace Barnes because Barnes is up there, and get more capital, more players, get free agents to come. Man, this Kings team could be one of those teams that instead of missing the playoffs for another 16 years, they could be in the playoffs every single year for years and years to come. So I'm going to slide it over to you, actually, Jay. I want to hear your commentary.
Yeah. Well, I'll just go real quick because we do have to wrap up here. But, man, I don't think anyone saw this coming. 17 years. They've been such a bottom team. But you know what? Props to De'Aaron Fox, too, for sticking it out, too. Because I believe, Jacob, he only was 1 year at Kentucky, correct?
Yep.
He was one and done at Kentucky. That's the other one and done school outside of Duke. But yeah, and then on top of it, I know division titles really don't count for much in the NBA nowadays, but they won their division. That should count for something, in a tough division that has currently Kevin Durant, Devin Booker, Chris Paul, whether you think about him much about him now or not, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Russell Westbrook, whether you think much about him now or not, LeBron James, AD, and then there's Golden State. So Drake. So you're in the same division as those guys.
Just say Austin Reeves.
Yeah. Austin Reeves, the other bird. But you are in. I'm talking about superstar wise. You are in a loaded division, and I get it. Injuries played a part, But I also am going to play devil's advocate and say that's not Sacramento's fault, because how many years have those other teams had injuries and Sacktown still didn't capitalize, Exactly. So it's got to count for something. In a star-studded division, probably the most star-studded division in basketball, they won the division and got the 3 seed. So hats off to Sacktown. We'll see what happens the rest of the series. It was a big win last night, but they got to keep it going, and they for sure have to still win at Golden State.
When does the next game? Tomorrow, right?
Tomorrow. They got a late game.
Are they home again? Is it home, away?
Yeah, it's 2-2-1-1-1.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so they're at Sacramento tomorrow, but that's our show.
I'm not kidding you. I remember when it would be 2-3-2. So I remember it would be 2-3-2. So those were the days when you couldn't win on the road very often. So if you had a 2-3-2, you did not take those 2 wins. You got to have 1. You are dead.
Yeah, pretty much.
It was really, other than like the Celtics and Lakers, it was really like, Jordan, when they took 2 games from the Lakers, that really just kind of ended that idea. You know what I'm saying? Like, you didn't have it was very tough to win in the road in those days.
Yeah, it was. And then not to mention, for the longest time, the first round was best of 5. So it was 2-2-1. And the higher seed, the last game was at their house. But that's our show. Thanks to anybody who's out there watching. Please go and dig up this episode. Also, hit the like and subscribe button on YouTube. Also, hit the like button on Facebook. And then also follow us on Twitter at Sideline Sports. So for Denzel Snipes, Jacob Christner, and Will Vogel, I am, of course, I'm Denzel Snipes. We'll see you in 7 days, y'all. Also, get well, Scott. See you next week. Later.
Take care.